I'd prepared 10 million in premarital personal assets for our wedding, and had even wired the 3 million startup capital for his business into his account ahead of time, standing on the steps of the county clerk's office. He clutched his marriage identification documents and spoke out of nowhere. "I found her, the one that got away. We can't get this license today. I have to do right by her." I didn't scream, didn't make a scene. I just pulled out my phone, tapped a few buttons, and smiled. "It's fine. Go chase your great love." The next second, his phone buzzed with a bank alert. His startup capital had been frozen. The accounts holding my 10 million personal assets had been closed, and the wedding car he'd driven here was being pulled away by the driver I'd dispatched. Right before his eyes, he stood there clutching his empty documents, and only then did he realize he hadn't just walked away from a wedding. He'd thrown away every last bit of security I'd ever offered him. I'm Phoebe Prescott, and I stood on those county clerk steps. The April sun feeling warm, but hollow, just like the words Ryan had whispered in my ear the night before. "Phoebe, marrying you is the best thing that ever happened to me." In my hand I held 2 red leather covers, not actual marriage certificates, just the decorative holders I'd bought to take photos with. I'd even tucked the photo we'd picked out together the night before inside them. In the picture, he was smiling like the happiest man alive, his arm wrapped tight around me. Now I wondered how much of that smile had been real. How much had been absent-minded performance. He was wearing the custom-tailored suit I'd ordered for him, his hair gelled perfectly in place. He certainly looked the part of a polished gentleman. No wonder I'd fallen for him so hard back then. "Phoebe." He turned to face me, his voice tight, his eyes darting away. I have to tell you something." My stomach dropped, but I kept the eager smile on my face. "What's wrong?" "Nervous." "It's okay. I am too." "Not nervous." He took a deep breath, like he was steeling himself for something huge. "I found Chloe. Chloe Carter." That name was a cold needle, stabbing straight into my heart without warning. She was his college crush, the one that got away. The unforgettable obsession he'd carried in his heart for years. The name he'd mumble when he was drunk. Back when we first started dating, I'd been naive enough to think that was just a silly old teenage dream. So, my voice went cold before I could stop it. She's not doing well. Not at all." Ryan's face twisted into a look I'd never seen before, half pity, half resolve. "She got divorced. She's raising a kid alone. Struggling. She needs me." The sun burned my eyes. I stared at him, enunciating every word. "So what are you saying?" He wouldn't meet my gaze, staring at the ground instead. His voice was quiet, but it hit me like a thunderclap. "I'm sorry, Phoebe. We can't get the license today. I have to do right by Chloe. Do right by her, the long-lost love he'd just found again. But who was going to do right by me? Who was going to make up for 3 years of my life I'd given him? For the future I'd spent months planning down to the last detail. For the 3 million I'd wired to his account so he could launch his dream business tomorrow. All around us, couples walked in and out of the clerk's office, glowing with happiness. Only our little corner had gone ice cold. I could hear people whispering, "What's going on? Did they fight? Looks like the guy bailed." Wow. Right at the last minute, a tidal wave of humiliation and rage crashed over me, threatening to swallow me whole. But I'm Phoebe Prescott. I don't fall apart when things go wrong. I dug my nails into my palm, using the pain to hold on to my composure, my dignity. I stared at this man I'd loved with everything I had for 3 years. The man I'd dipped into my family's trust fund to support. I stared at him, twisted up and desperate and ready to throw everything away for another woman. It was laughable. I loosened my grip, letting those 2 ridiculous red certificate holders slip from my fingers. They landed light as a feather on the steps below. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just lifted my face and smiled a thin, cold smile. "Oh, it's Chloe Carter, is it?" My calm caught him completely off guard. He looked up, stunned. "It's fine," I said, my voice light, almost cheerful. "Go chase your great love." under his confused, wary gaze. I pulled my phone calmly from my purse, unlocked it, and opened the private banking app. My fingers were ice cold, but steady as a rock. Wish you everything you deserve. I tapped a few buttons, then slipped my phone back into my bag. The whole thing took less than 10 seconds. Ryan's phone buzzed in his pocket at exactly the same moment. Not his ringtone special alert he'd set for large financial transactions. He pulled it out automatically. One look at the screen, and his face went white, whiter than the expensive dress shirt he was wearing. He looked up at me, eyes wide with terror and disbelief. "Phoebe, what did you do?" I tilted my head, my smile still perfectly polite. "Nothing. Just taking back what belongs to the Prescott family, including that wedding car you've been driving." As I finished speaking, a uniformed driver stepped out of nowhere, pulled open the door of that brand new black sedan still decorated with wedding ribbons, started the engine, and drove away in a smooth arc, leaving nothing but dust behind. Ryan stood there like a puppet with its strings cut, still clutching his useless identification papers, under the growing weight of curious, judgmental stares from everyone around. He opened his mouth like he wanted to say something, but no sound came out. His eyes went from shock to anger to blank, terrified confusion. I gave him one last look, as calm and empty as if I were staring at a stranger. Then I turned and walked down those steps in my 7-inch heels, steady, unhurried. The sun fell warm on my shoulders again, chasing away the cold. I knew, from that moment on, Ryan Lawson's world was about to turn upside down, and this was only the beginning. I didn't look back. The click of my heels on the pavement echoed through the empty parking lot, every step a goodbye to the stupid, naive girl I'd been. Behind me, I thought I heard Ryan hoarsely yelling my name, faint and muffled. But why would I stop to listen to him explain how torn he'd been between his duty to me and his duty to Chloe? To listen to him beg me to take pity on him, to cut him some slack for old time's sake. Ridiculous. He'd chosen to deal me this fatal blow, right at the threshold of marriage, on the steps of the county clerk's office. When had he ever cut me any slack? He hadn't just walked away from a wedding. He'd walked away from me, Phoebe Prescott, and every single opportunity, every connection, every safety net my family could have given him. Now I was just taking all that back, piece by piece. Call it stripping him of every last advantage. I slid into the discreet black sedan waiting for me at the curb. My driver asked respectfully, "Home, Ms. Prescott?" "To the office," I said, leaning back against the soft leather seats and closing my eyes. My voice gave nothing away. Like the woman who'd just had her engagement blown to pieces on the courthouse steps wasn't even me. My phone started buzzing non-stop. I didn't even have to look to know who it was. Ryan had probably finally snapped out of his initial shock. He probably thought freezing the $3 million was just a fit of anger. That if he groveled enough, I'd soften up like I always had before. And why wouldn't he? For 3 years, I'd given him everything he asked for. When he needed connections for his business, I'd called in every favor my father owed. When he ran out of money, I'd handed over my personal savings without a second thought. When his relatives came to the city for medical care, I'd been the one calling hospitals and arranging appointments. He'd gotten so used to Phoebe Prescott's endless generosity, he'd forgotten I was a Prescott first, and his fiancée second. A Prescott woman can love fiercely, but she can also walk away without looking back. The phone stopped buzzing for a minute, then started right back up again. He was really panicking now. I opened my eyes, picked up the phone, saw Ryan's name flashing on the screen, and held down the power button until it shut off. Silence. At last. Now he's panicking. Where was this panic when he decided to throw me away? The car glided down the highway, the city flying past the window. I pulled out my tablet and started going through work emails, like the whole thing had just been a minor, annoying distraction. Emotions, they're useless when you've already won. By the time I'd finished the urgent emails, we'd pulled into the reserved underground parking spot at Prescott Group headquarters. I took the private elevator straight up to the penthouse executive office. My father, Percival Prescott, was sitting behind his massive desk going over files. He looked up when I walked in. Surprised. Phoebe, weren't you supposed to be getting your license with Ryan today? He cut himself off, noticing my face, and set down his pen. What happened? I sat down across from him, poured myself a glass of water, and took a sip. Perfect temperature. We didn't get it, I said, as casually as if I were commenting on the weather. Father's brow furrowed. What happened? That boy backed out. Ma'am. I nodded. His old flame, Chloe Carter, got divorced. She needs him, so he decided he doesn't need to keep his promises to his fiancée. That bastard. Father slammed his fist on the desk, furious. How dare he do this to you? Does he think the Prescott family has no teeth? His anger didn't surprise me. He'd never liked Ryan, never trusted the ordinary, ambitious boy from nowhere. I'd been the one so blinded by love that I'd insisted on being with him, worn him down until he'd agreed, and then he'd given Ryan all that support anyway. Turns out fathers know best. Don't be mad, Dad. I reached out to calm him down. He's not worth it. What did you do? He took a deep breath, getting his temper under control, and looked at me. He knew exactly what I was asking. Froze the $3 million startup capital. Closed all the accounts and assets I'd set aside for the marriage. Had the car brought back. I paused, right there on the steps, right after he told me. Father blinked. Then his face softened. There was pity there, but also a flicker of quiet pride. He knew his daughter. I wasn't the kind of girl to fall apart and cry over a man. Good for you, he said firmly. Not a single thing that belongs to the Prescotts goes to that ungrateful leech. If he's so determined to chase true love, let him do it on his own 2 feet. He stood up, walked over, and clapped me on the shoulder. I'm sorry you had to go through that, baby, but I've got your back. If he so much as tries to bother you again, I'll make sure he regrets it. I shook my head. No, Dad. Let me handle this. Don't get involved. I wanted to watch it myself, watch him fall from that smug, happy groomtobe right back into the mud he'd crawled out of. Worse than the mud, even. This was nothing, just the warm-up. My phone was off, but my assistant called on the office line. Ms. Prescott. Her voice was hesitant. Mr. Lawson is downstairs at the front desk. He's very upset. Says he needs to see you immediately. Security is holding him, but he's... I walked over to the floor-to-ceiling windows, looking down at the traffic far below. I couldn't see him, but I could picture exactly how desperate and unhinged he looked. Tell him I'm not here. My voice was ice cold. And tell security if he ever shows up again. Escort him off the property immediately. No one unrelated to Prescott Group is allowed on the premises. Yes, Ms. Prescott. I hung up, staring at my reflection in the glass. Perfect makeup, cold, steady eyes. Phoebe Prescott was awake now. The rules of the game had changed. Are you ready, Ryan? The next few days were quiet, at least for me. I went to work, had meetings, signed papers, like Ryan Lawson had never existed. The wedding we'd planned was cancelled. Of course, Father handled notifying all our friends and family with a perfectly polite explanation, saving the Prescott name from any embarrassment. I didn't care about the gossip. True strength comes from inside, not from what other people say. But I knew Ryan's world was falling apart. According to my assistant, he showed up at Prescott Group every single day to wait for me. At first he was desperate to explain, then angry, then begging. Security followed my orders to the letter, never even made it through the front door. He called me non-stop. I blocked every number he had. He started calling from random phones. At first I'd answer, just to hear what he had to say. It was always the same garbage. Phoebe, let me explain. It's not what you think between me and Chloe. I just felt bad for her. I couldn't just leave her to suffer. We never got married. I have a right to pursue true love, don't I? That $3 million was startup capital. It's the future of the company. You can't be this selfish. You froze that money. What happens to my company? What happens to all the employees waiting on their paychecks? Phoebe Prescott. You're cruel. You're trying to ruin my life. By the end. I didn't even bother sneering. I just hung up and blocked the new number. He still didn't get it. Still didn't understand what he'd lost. Or maybe he still thought I was just mad. That I'd come around eventually. I'd been so good to him for 3 years. He'd started to think he could take me for granted forever. A week later, I went to a business gala. I used to bring Ryan to these sometimes, to help him make connections. Tonight I was alone, in a floor-length sapphire gown, moving easily through the crowd of business elites. Laughing and talking like I didn't have a care in the world. Until a familiar, ragged figure stumbled into the room. Ryan. He'd found the gala somehow. He was wearing the same suit he'd worn to the county clerk's office, but it was crumpled, his tie askew, his hair a mess, his eyes bloodshot. He looked exhausted, broken. He didn't have an invitation. The waiters had tried to stop him at the door, but he'd seen me, and charged like a drowning man grabbing for a life raft. Phoebe Prescott. His shout cut through the elegant hum of the gala. Every head turned, curious, amused, ready for a show. I held my champagne glass, turned slowly, and watched him run right up to me. Phoebe, I finally found you. He was gasping for breath. Reaching for my arm, I stepped back smoothly, out of his reach. My gaze was distant, cold. Mr. Lawson, can I help you? The title made him flinch. The crowd started whispering. Mr. Lawson. I thought Ms. Prescott was marrying him. Looks like it's off. Then, what happened to him? He looks like a homeless man. All those eyes and whispers pricked at him like needles. His face went bright red, then pale. Phoebe, don't do this. His voice was low, desperate. Can we talk somewhere private? Please, I'm begging you. We can talk right here. I swirled the champagne in my glass, my tone final. I have nothing to hide. He froze, stared at me, eyes full of pain and desperation. Fine. He took a deep breath, like he was throwing all his pride away. Phoebe. I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have said those things at the clerk's office. I was an idiot. I was out of my mind. He started slapping his own face. Not hard, but loud enough for everyone to hear. The crowd murmured. But I wasn't thinking straight. Chloe, she was in such a bad place. She told me if I didn't come for her she'd kill herself. I couldn't just let that happen. He was crying now, trying to make everyone feel sorry for him. Phoebe, you've always been so kind. You understand, don't you? Moral blackmail. Then, using Chloe's vulnerability to make me look cold and unreasonable, I smiled and took a small sip of champagne. So you chose to be responsible for her and abandoned your responsibility to me. That was your choice. I respect it. I set down my glass and looked him dead in the eye. So why are you here? Did Chloe stop needing you? Or did you just realize you can't actually afford to take care of her? My words cut right through his act. Sharp as a knife. His face went white. He couldn't meet my eyes. I'd hit the nail right on the head. I found out later that Chloe really had gotten divorced. Really was raising a kid alone. Really had called him crying about how hard her life was. But when Ryan showed up at her door, having called off his wedding, having nothing to his name, and told her he'd take care of her forever, reality hit. Chloe wasn't some perfect, innocent angel. She wanted a man with money, with status, who could take care of her and her kid. Not a loser who'd blown up his engagement to a billionaire's daughter, had his startup capital frozen, and was about to lose his entire company. Ryan's devotion was worthless without the Prescott name and money behind it. So Chloe had turned cold, distant, avoided him entirely. That was the punchline. He'd thrown everything away for true love, only to find out that love had never been for him. It had been for the man he was, as Phoebe Prescott's fiancé. Now that was gone, the love was gone too. That's not Phoebe. Listen, he was stammering now. Me and Chloe. It's not I love you. It's always been you. I just lost my mind for a minute. Oh, I raised an eyebrow. So you came to your senses. Realized Phoebe Prescott is the better deal after all. My words were cruel. Blunt. They hit him harder than any slap he'd given himself. His face turned bright purple. The crowd's whispers turned from curiosity to open contempt. So that's what this is. Dumped his fiancée for his ex. Realized the ex didn't want him. Now he's crawling back. Trying to get back in with the Prescotts. What a piece of work. Ms. Prescott has more patience than me. I'd have thrown my drink in his face. Ryan stood there alone. Under the weight of every judgmental stare. He'd never been more humiliated in his life. Phoebe. Please. Just give me one more chance. He was practically sobbing now. On his knees in front of everyone. Without you. Without that money. My company is done. It was my whole life. There it was. The real reason he was here. Not because he loved me. Not because he was sorry. Because his company, his dream, was dying. Your company, your dream. My voice was loud enough for everyone in the room to hear. What does that have to do with me? Phoebe Prescott. I didn't look at his desperate, twisted face again. I turned to the gala host, who was standing there stunned, and gave him an apologetic smile. I'm so sorry for the disruption, Mr. Wallace. I have to go. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Then I walked out. Under the stares of the entire room, some sympathetic, some impressed, some just entertained. Behind me, I heard Ryan break down screaming. But security shut him up quickly. I knew this was just the start of his nightmare. How did that public humiliation taste? Ryan, after the gala. Ryan dropped all pretense of pride. He stopped trying to act like a decent person, and started harassing me every way he could think of. He couldn't get into the Prescott building, so he waited outside the doors all day. Every time my car pulled out, he'd throw himself in front of it, forcing my driver to slam on the brakes. He'd press his face to the window, screaming my name, begging for forgiveness, drawing stares from everyone passing by. I told my driver to call the police. The cops would come, warn him, lecture him. He'd act sorry. Then as soon as they left, he'd be right back. He somehow got my parents' address and started waiting outside our gated community day and night. Our security chased him off a dozen times, but he kept coming back. He even tried to play the victim online. He posted vague, whiny rants on local community forums, talking about rich billionaires bullying small business owners, painting himself as a poor, talented entrepreneur crushed by a cruel, petty ex-girlfriend who dumped him over one small mistake. He'd underestimated the Prescott PR team and overestimated how stupid people were. The posts were taken down within hours, and multiple people who'd seen what happened at the county clerk's office came forward with the truth. The internet turned on him immediately, mocking him for living off a woman while acting entitled, for trying to have it both ways. His little pity party became a running joke in every business circle in the city. But he still wouldn't quit. He was like a pest you couldn't get rid of. No, worse than a pest. A stray dog with no pride, just running on pure desperation. One day, I was having lunch with an important client at a high-end restaurant. After the client left, I went down to the underground parking garage to get my car. I was almost there when a figure jumped out from behind a pillar. Ryan again. He looked even worse than he had at the gala. He had a beard. His eyes were sunken. He reeked of sweat and old clothes. There was nothing left of that sharp, ambitious young man I'd dated. Phoebe. He lunged for my hands. I stepped back fast, hitting my key fob to unlock the car. What do you want now? I stared at him. All my patience gone. Phoebe. I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. He dropped to his knees right there on the concrete garage floor. A few other people parking nearby stopped, staring and pointing. Please, just forgive me. This one time. The company is gone. The suppliers are all suing me. I can't pay my employees. The bank is calling in my loans. Without that money, I'm ruined. He was hitting his forehead on the ground, over and over, making dull thudding sounds. It was all Chloe's fault. She lied to me. She said she needed me. It was all a lie. She dumped me as soon as she found out I had no money. Phoebe. She tricked me. I'm the victim here. Now he was blaming Chloe for everything, pretending he hadn't been the one standing on those steps, ready to throw everything away for her. Oh, I leaned against my car, arms crossed, looking down at him like he was a bug on the ground. So you're just mad you picked the wrong person to leech off of. Decided Phoebe Prescott was a better mark after all. My words poured over him like ice water. He looked up, his face covered in snot and tears and dirt. Disgusting. No. That's not what I mean. Phoebe, I love you. It's always been you. He scrambled forward on his knees, trying to grab my legs. I stepped back, disgusted. Love. I laughed, sharp and bitter. Ryan, your love is cheap. You give it away so easily. Take it back just as fast. And you switch who you love based on how much money they have. No, you have to believe me. He was screaming now, wild-eyed. Just help me this once. Get me through this. And I'll do anything. I'll work my fingers to the bone for you. Anything you ask. My servant. He didn't even deserve that. The Prescotts didn't need servants like him. Ryan. I dropped the sarcasm, my voice deadly serious. Look at me. Listen very carefully. I enunciated every word, made sure he heard every single one. I, Phoebe Prescott, have no feelings for you left. None. All I feel is disgust, contempt. Your company lives or dies. That's none of my business. You live or die. That's even less of my business. If you dropped dead right here in front of me, I wouldn't blink. I'd just be glad I didn't have to deal with you anymore. His whole body started shaking. His face went dead gray. He collapsed on the ground, all the strength gone out of him, his eyes empty. Like his whole world had just shattered. Why? Why are you so cruel? He mumbled, half to me, half to himself. I got in my car, started the engine. Before I drove off, I rolled down the window and said one last thing to the pathetic mess on the ground. Ryan, don't come looking for me again. Have some self-respect. For once in your life. I pulled out of the garage. In the rearview mirror, his figure got smaller and smaller, until it vanished into the dark. I knew he wouldn't stop. Pests never do. But I wasn't done with him yet. This was just the appetizer. The main course hadn't even arrived. Ryan's pathetic behavior was already a running joke in every social circle in the city. But there were always P.E. Opal who loved to feel sorry for the underdog, who took sides without knowing the whole story, especially when the underdog was such a good actor. I don't know how Ryan talked the few remaining employees at his company into it. Probably promised them raises if the company survived. Probably played on their loyalty. One morning, I drove up to Prescott Group, and there was a small crowd of people gathered at the front door. 7 or 8 of them, holding white banners with big red letters. Phoebe Prescott is ruining small businesses. Where is the justice? Freezing our money is ruining lives. Give us our paychecks. Give us our jobs. It was Ryan's employees. Ryan himself was hiding around the corner, peeking out like a coward. This was his new plan. Use public pressure to force me to give in. It was cheap. Pathetic. When they saw my car, they ran over, surrounding the entrance, yelling slogans and banging on my windows. Phoebe Prescott, come out. Explain yourself. You can't do whatever you want just because you're rich. Give us our money back. It was chaos. Security ran over to try and break them up, but they were angry, shoving back. Passers-by stopped to watch, pulling out their phones to film. Ryan saw his chance. He ran out from around the corner, putting on a brave, pained face, standing between his employees and my car, yelling, Phoebe, take it out on me. Don't hurt my employees. They didn't do anything. I know you hate me, but this company is all they have. You can't punish all these people just because we broke up. I'm begging you, just let us go. He was putting on quite the performance, painting himself as a noble boss who cared about his people, and me as a cruel, bitter ex out for revenge. The crowd started murmuring, buying it. What's going on? That girl looks so nice. How can she be so mean? Sounds like she froze her ex's company money. Now all his employees are gonna lose their jobs. Wow. Rich people really are evil. Break up with someone and you try to ruin their whole life. Ryan's eyes flickered with quiet triumph. He thought I'd have to come out and talk to him. To save the Prescott name. He thought if I talked, he'd win. He was wrong. I sat in the car, watching the whole show calmly. I even touched up my lipstick. Then I opened the door and stepped out. The yelling stopped the second I got out. My calm, steady presence shut them up. I looked over all the employees, then fixed my gaze on Ryan. Done with your little show, I said. Cool as ice. Ryan froze, then put his angry, hurt face back on. Phoebe, I'm not putting on a show. I have no choice. These people have worked for me for years. I can't just let them. Shut up. I cut him off. My voice wasn't loud, but it carried. He stopped talking immediately. I turned to the employees holding the banners. My voice calm and clear. You say I froze your paychecks. The ringleader of the group stepped forward, nervous but defiant. Aren't you? Mr. Lawson said you froze the company's startup money. So now we can't get paid. All our projects are shut down. Startup money, I repeated, and smiled. Did Mr. Lawson tell you who that $3 million belonged to? The employees looked at each other. Then at Ryan. His face went pale. That $3 million was transferred from my personal bank account to Ryan's personal bank account. The day before we were supposed to get married, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. It was a premarital gift. Since we are not getting married, I revoked that gift. That is completely legal. Do any of you have a problem with that? The employees stared, stunned. They had no idea. As for your company's finances, I continued, from what I know, Ryan's company was already losing money for months. Long before I froze that money, that $3 million would not have saved it. He is just blaming me for his own failure as a CEO. So he doesn't have to admit he ran your company into the ground. That's a lie. Ryan yelled, furious. You froze the money. That's why. Would you like me to release your company's full financial reports from the last year? I stared him down. Let everyone see exactly who's lying. Exactly who ran this company into the ground. Ryan went bright red. His mouth clamped shut. He couldn't say a word. The employees looked at me, then at Ryan. The anger in their faces turned to doubt, then disappointment. I turned to the crowd of onlookers, raising my voice so everyone could hear. Everyone, this is a personal matter. And I hate that it's taking up public space. But since we're here, I'll be clear. Ryan Lawson and I have ended our engagement. All financial matters between us have been settled legally and properly. His company's success or failure has absolutely nothing to do with me. Or with Prescott Group. And if anyone tries to spread lies about me or my company to blackmail me. I paused, my gaze sharp as a knife, sweeping over the whole crowd. Prescott Group's legal team is ready for you. I turned and walked into the building, flanked by security. Without another word, behind me, there was dead silence. Then Ryan's angry, useless yelling. No one was listening anymore. The employees quietly folded up their banners, looked at each other, and left. The crowd dispersed, laughing at Ryan, calling him pathetic, saying I was right to dump him. His little blackmail attempt had backfired completely. He'd just made an even bigger fool of himself. I stepped into the elevator, staring at my cold reflection in the mirrored doors. Ryan, you thought that was the end? No. You humiliated me once in public. Now I'm going to make you spend the rest of your life paying for it. This is just the start. After the protest failed, Ryan went quiet for a while. Word was his already failing company had officially declared bankruptcy. Suppliers were suing him. The bank was calling in all his loans. All his employees had quit. He was hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. And there were even rumors he was facing criminal charges for embezzling money from the company. I heard all this from my assistant. I didn't have to do anything to make it worse. He dug his own grave. I was just watching. Every now and then, I got a surprise. Like when a strange woman called me and asked to meet. She said her name was Chloe Carter. I was curious. The woman Ryan had thrown everything away for. What did she want? We met at a quiet coffee shop. I got there, and she was already sitting at a table by the window, wearing a plain dress, no makeup, looking soft and fragile. Exactly the kind of woman that makes men like Ryan want to play hero. No wonder he'd fallen for it. When she saw me, she stood up immediately, nervous, fidgeting with her sleeves. Ms. Prescott. Hi, I'm Chloe Carter. Sit. I nodded, sat across from her, ordered an Americano. When the waiter left, it was awkward. She kept glancing at me, curious, jealous, a little intimidated. I just sat there, calm, letting her stare. Ms. Prescott, I came here to apologize, she said finally. Quiet. Apologize. I raised an eyebrow. For Ryan, or for yourself? She blinked, blushing. For myself, and for Ryan. If it wasn't for me, you two would never have. Ryan and I would have broken up eventually, with or without you. I cut her off, calm. The problem was always Ryan. He couldn't make up his mind. He wanted everything. If it wasn't you, it would have been someone else. She stared at me, surprised. So you don't need to apologize for him, and you don't need to feel guilty. I stirred my coffee. Just tell me why you're really here. She looked down, was quiet for a minute, then looked up, determined. Ms. Prescott, I know this sounds crazy, but can you help Ryan? That surprised me. Help Ryan, from the mouth of his great love. Oh, I leaned back. How? He's in such a bad place. Her eyes filled with tears. His company is gone. He owes so much money. He lost his house and his car. The creditors are threatening him every day. I heard he might go to jail. She was crying now. So, I didn't even blink. He did this to himself, didn't he? He did. He deserves it. She suddenly raised her voice, angry. He was stupid. He believed every word I said. He deserves everything that's happening to him. That was interesting. But she went back to looking soft and sad. Ms. Prescott, you two were together for 3 years. Even a short relationship leaves lasting bonds. Can you really just watch him ruin his whole life? He's not going to make it. Ms. Carter. I stood up, grabbing my purse, looking down at her. If Ryan hadn't gone bankrupt, if he hadn't lost everything, if he'd married you and was happy and successful, would you be here asking me to help him? Her face went white. She couldn't answer. We both knew the answer. No. She wasn't here because she cared about Ryan. She was here because Ryan was now her problem, harassing her, dragging her down. And she wanted to dump him back on me. She wanted me to take him off her hands. Clever. Very clever. Ms. Carter, I said, slow and clear, so she heard every word. You and Ryan are perfect for each other. Both of you selfish. Both of you calculating. Both of you absolutely repulsive. Tell Ryan this for me. I watched her eyes go wide. I don't care if he lives or dies. If he ever bothers me again, through anyone, in any way, I will make his life 10 times worse than it is right now. I mean that. I left the money for the coffee on the table and walked out. The sun was bright outside. I took a deep breath. So Ryan wasn't just a pest to me. He was a pest to his precious Chloe too. Everyone hated him. Everyone wanted him gone. Had he thought about this? Back on those county clerk steps, when he'd thrown me away so easily. This was just the interest. I hadn't even collected the principal yet. After that, Ryan really did disappear from my life. No more calls. No more waiting outside my office. No more rumors. It was like he'd never existed. I was glad for the peace. I threw myself into work. Prescott Group had a major overseas acquisition going on. I was traveling constantly, busier than ever. 3 months later, the deal closed successfully. I flew home with my team, in a great mood. I turned my phone on when we landed, and dozens of texts and emails popped up. Most were work. But there was one long text from an unknown number. Sent late the night before. I almost deleted it. But something made me open it. Phoebe, I know you hate me. I don't deserve to talk to you. You probably won't even read this. And if you do, you'll delete it. But I had to send it. This is my last apology. It was Ryan. His tone was weirdly calm. Empty. Hopeless. I'm done. It's over. The company is gone. I'm being sued for embezzlement. I lost everything. I owe millions. The creditors are threatening me every day. My mom had a stroke and she's in the ICU. I can't pay her bills. I'm hiding in a cheap motel out in the suburbs. Too scared to leave the room. It was all despair. All hopelessness. I know I deserve this. I never should have hurt you. I never should have walked away from you on those steps. Every single day I regret it. I wish I could go back and kill the man who said those things to you. Chloe blocked me months ago. She left town. Good. I don't want to hurt anyone else. Sometimes I think it would be easier to just die. It would all be over. I frowned. Another sympathy ploy, trying to make me feel bad by threatening suicide. He was still using the same cheap tricks. I kept reading. I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm not. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I'm sorry I wasted 3 years of your life. I'm sorry I destroyed everything we had. I'm sorry I hurt you so bad. If I could go back. But there is no going back. I hope you have a perfect, happy life. You deserve it. Goodbye. That was it. No begging. No blackmail. Just apology. And goodbye. That was what made it weird. That wasn't like Ryan. He never gave up that easy. I thought for a minute. Then called my assistant. Find out what's going on with Ryan. Is he actually being charged? Is his mom in the hospital? My assistant got back to me half an hour later. Ms. Prescott. It's all true. His company was liquidated. He's being sued by his shareholders for embezzlement. The case is ongoing. All his assets are frozen. He has a lot of debt. His mom had a hemorrhagic stroke from high blood pressure a week ago. She's still in the ICU. It's not looking good. Ryan's missing. The creditors are looking for him too. I stared at that long text on my phone. So it wasn't a trick. He really was at the end of his rope. No money. No friends. No one left. His mom dying. That text was a cry for help. Or a suicide note. I felt a tiny twinge. Not pity. Not forgiveness. Just something complicated. This man I'd loved so much. Once. Was now living like a rat in a gutter. Was this what I wanted? I'd hated him. I'd wanted him to pay. I'd wanted him to learn his lesson. But I'd never wanted him dead. I wanted him alive. Alive to feel the regret. Alive to know what he'd lost. Alive to watch me live the life he'd thrown away. Death was too easy. It was an escape. I didn't want him to escape. I wanted him to live with it. Every single day. For the rest of his life. That was the real punishment. I made my decision. Find out where he is. Get the best lawyer we have to handle his case. Pay all the fees. And contact the hospital his mom is at. Pay all her medical bills. Get her the best doctors. The best care. Do it all anonymously. No one can know it was us. Not Ryan. Not anyone. My assistant was shocked. Ms. Prescott. Are you helping him? Just do it. I didn't explain. I hung up. Looking out the window at the airport tarmac. I'm not going to let you die. Ryan, I'm going to let you live. Live with every single thing you did. For the rest of your life. That's the real revenge. I saved your life. But your soul is going to burn in regret forever. Ryan didn't die. He'd slit his wrists in the motel bathroom. But the cut wasn't deep enough. Or he'd changed his mind at the last minute. The motel owner found him. Called an ambulance. He survived. And then. Strange things started happening. The shareholders suing him suddenly offered a very generous settlement. The hospital told him an anonymous donor had paid all his mom's medical bills. And brought in a team of top specialists. Even the creditors stopped harassing him. Gave him more time to pay back his debt. It was like a miracle. He was pulled back from the edge. He lay in his hospital bed. staring at the sun through the window, like he couldn't believe it. He tried to find out who had helped him. But he couldn't. The lawyer wouldn't say. The hospital wouldn't say. The creditors wouldn't say. Someone powerful, someone rich, was helping him, and they didn't want him to know who. He thought of me first. Then immediately dismissed it. Phoebe hated him. She hadn't even replied to his goodbye text. She'd want him dead. It couldn't be her. But who else? It couldn't be Chloe. He never figured it out. That's strange. Anonymous salvation didn't make him happy. It made him uneasy. Humiliated. Like his whole life was being controlled by someone else. Like he didn't even get to choose if he lived or died. When he got out of the hospital, his life was quiet, but small. His mom got better, but needed constant care. He got a regular, low-paying job. Just to get by, to pay back his debt. No more big dreams, no more ambition. He was quiet, old before his time. Every now and then, he'd see me in the news. Prescott Group closing the big overseas deal. Our stock soaring. Me on the cover of business magazines. Bright. Successful. Beautiful. There was a gap between us now. A gap he could never cross. He watched me get more and more successful, more and more happy, and compared it to his own small, miserable life. The regret ate at him. Every single day, he finally understood what he'd thrown away on those steps. Not just a marriage, a whole life, a chance to be someone, all the security, all the opportunity, and now it was gone forever. Just a pipe dream. Sometimes he wondered if the person who saved him had done it on purpose. Saved him just to make him live with this pain forever. If they had. They were crueler than Phoebe Prescott ever was. Time passed. A year went by. It was the 1-year anniversary of our breakup. I was the only one who remembered. Probably. I took the day off. In the morning I visited a family member's grave. In the afternoon, I had my driver drive past Ryan's new apartment. It was a rundown apartment complex on the edge of the city. Loud. Old. Falling apart. My assistant told me he and his mom rented a tiny 1-bedroom there. He went to work. Came home. Took care of her. That was his whole life. We drove slowly past the front gate. And there he was. Coming home from the grocery store. Holding cheap plastic bags with vegetables. He was hunched over. Wearing a faded work uniform. Tired. Old-looking. Only a year. That sharp, charming young man was gone. Replaced by a tired, beaten-down middle-aged guy. He looked up. Like he felt someone watching. Our eyes met. Through the tinted window of my car. He froze. Dropped his bags. Potatoes and tomatoes rolled all over the sidewalk. He stared at me. Eyes wide. Shocked. Ashamed. Full of regret. And that tiny, stupid spark of hope he couldn't kill. I stared back at him. Through the dark glass. No expression. Like he was a stranger. Then I said to my driver, "Quiet. Drive on." The car pulled away. No hesitation. In the rearview mirror, his figure got smaller and smaller. Until it was gone. Was he still standing there? Thinking about that split second. Wondering if I'd cared. Wondering if there was still a chance. Let him wonder. That was his anniversary present. That one quiet look would haunt him. Every single night for the rest of his life. It would remind him how close he'd been. How much he'd thrown away. That was the real torture. Slow. Agonizing. Endless. 6 months later. I went on a family-arranged blind date. He was Gideon Grant, the heir to another major business empire. We were well-matched in social and financial status. We got along. We liked each other. We dated for 6 months, then got engaged. The news was everywhere. On every business and gossip page, everyone called it the wedding of the year. The perfect power couple. Our engagement gala was at the most luxurious hotel in the city. Everyone who was anyone was there. I wore a custom gown, wore the family jewels, walked in on Gideon's arm, smiling. Happy. Perfect. I knew Ryan would see the news. On his tiny old TV. Or on a magazine at the grocery store. He'd see how happy I was. How good Gideon was. How perfect my life was. That was the final blow. The end of every last stupid hope he'd had. Sure enough. The day after the gala, my assistant told me Ryan had tried to get into the hotel. Security had thrown him out. He was drunk, yelling my name, slurring that it should have been him. That he was sorry. The security guards thought it was hilarious. I just smiled. I didn't care. He was nothing to me now. A distant memory. Word was he quit his job, took his mom, and left the city. Moved to some small town where no one knew him. Vanished. Maybe he wakes up in the middle of the night sometimes, thinking about everything he lost. Maybe he gets drunk and mumbles apologies to no one. Maybe he'll spend the rest of his life trapped in that regret. But it doesn't matter to me anymore. My life is perfect now. Bright. Happy. Full of hope. Ryan is just a footnote in my story. A cautionary tale. A reminder to never trust the wrong person. To never lose yourself in love. My reckoning has long burned to ash. His hell is only just beginning. And it will last forever.